Have you ever been watching a video or you're around people and they say, you just have to trust your intuition, or it was just a gut feeling, and you have zero clue what they're talking about? Well, today I'm going to share with you my thoughts on intuition and how you can kind of pick it out. I will explain to you some ways to kind of integrate that into your understanding and I will also share with you a couple of stories that really taught me how to follow my intuition. So let me just get started. So when I looked it up online, intuition, the definition that I found says the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning, which pretty much makes sense, right? It's you just get a feeling, and it's that gut feeling. It's the first initial feeling that you feel when you are up against a dilemma. A good way to describe it right off the bat is, have you ever been taking a test and say it's an ABC question, and you read the question and you go, oh, it's A, and then you stop and you say, ah, and you sort of hem and haw, and you're not really sure, and you contemplate and you analyze, and then you choose B or C. And then when you get the test results back, A was the correct answer. So I know when I was in school, a lot of my teachers would always say, go with your first answer, because usually that's the right answer. Every single person has intuition. It's just a matter of figuring out when that's speaking through. The intuition pops up and it's almost instantaneous, and there's no garble. It just, you come through with an answer. Let me think of a for instance. Okay, like, well, this is kind of a subtle one, but for instance, I will set a glass on the counter, and this has actually happened to me before. I set a glass on the counter, and I'm thinking, okay, I should probably move that back a little bit. And then I go, nah, it's fine. A few minutes later, somebody nudges against it, and boom, it's on the floor, and I've got a mess to clean up. If I had followed my intuition, then pushed the glass back, the accident wouldn't have happened. So there are tons and tons of scenarios like that I'm sure we can all kind of go, yeah, I remember something like that. So it's basically just your connection to a higher wisdom, or maybe you could say even the divine, and that can be called whatever you choose to call it, source, God, whatever. But it's sort of it's like a lightning bolt connection, I guess. See, the intuition, it lives on a level below practicality and beyond analysis. You don't have to analyze it. When you get that hit, then just follow it, because 9 times out of 10, that is your intuition, and it's only leading you to make the right decision. It's just that gut feeling. We all have an auric field, right? And I'm a big quantum physics geek. So what happens is, when you're in a situation and you get that, like I said, you get that hit. Well, what's happening is that your auric field, which is just the energy that emits from your body that sort of engages with the quantum field. When an energy comes into that field, if the questionable thing is not in harmony with your energetic pattern, that's when you'll get the hit. For instance, if you've ever had a scenario where some friends invite you out to a party, your instant reaction based on maybe the people that are going to be there or the location of the party, you get this hit and it says, don't go, or you'll just get a feeling, literally that gut feeling that says, just nah, I think I'm going to hang back. That's your intuition kicking in, and always trust it, because you never know, right? And it's better to be, I think it's better to listen to the intuition than to have some sort of huge situation occur and wish that you had trusted your intuition beforehand. A pretty crazy story that I wanted to share was, my daughter must have been, I'm gonna say she was about 3, and I had a meeting set up to go to, and it was in the evening, and I remember going into her bedroom because it was kind of late in the evening when I was headed out to this meeting, and me and her daddy had put her to bed, and I went in to say goodbye to her, and I remember her she seemed really reluctant. Usually she had no problem, you know, there was no separation issues with her at a young age, but she seemed upset, and she said, "Mommy, don't go." And it was really, really crazy because it was a rainy night, and it was dark, and she said, "Mommy, don't go." And I said, "Well, Mommy has to go, you know, I have a meeting to go to." And she said, "No, Mommy, don't go. Your car goes down the road and it slides and bam, hit a tree." And I'm thinking, what is going on? So intuitively, I listened. I completely canceled the meeting and I didn't go. Now, that was just because I'm listening to this thing, you know, my daughter's telling me that she's foreseeing this accident potentially. And again, my daughter wasn't the type to cling, and it wasn't that way. So I trusted that, and I went with it because my intuition said, if I go, and you know, based on what she's just shared with me, I mean, I don't know, but I trusted my intuition. Who knows? Maybe I would have been fine or maybe not. But just that gut feeling said, listen. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. I feel like the universe kind of meets us halfway and sort of helps us navigate our life in a way. And also too, it's kind of cool because I think that in life, I feel like, you know, if you're going down this path and you get an intuitive ping, or, you know, you feel your intuition pulling you completely in the opposite direction of the way that you may have been going, I think that that's just a magical sort of course corrector, you know? And that's kind of cool. So I guess the basic way that you can tell if it's just your thinking mind or your intuition, you know, as I said before, the intuition is going to be automatic. It's going to be a feeling that hits all of a sudden. And it's going to give you an answer or a feeling, and that's it. As soon as you begin to analyze or pick it apart or hem and haw about it, you know, that's going to pull you away from the intuitive guidance. I think that to work with intuition, the number one thing to try to, I think the number one thing that you need to focus on is self-trust, loving yourself and trusting yourself. If you don't have that sort of trust and that you can kind of navigate these things, it's going to be hard because you will constantly question yourself. And I think that's what the intuition is for. It's kind of that foolproof moment, you know, where we are in a situation where we might not know what to do, but the intuitive hit comes in and you can either accept that or ignore it. So just trust yourself. That's so incredibly important in the craft across the board, is trusting yourself. So another good way to work on and kind of hone the intuition is through meditation. So when you sit with yourself and you kind of quiet the mind, that can kind of declutter, and it frees up. I think after practicing meditation for a period of time, after a while, there's not so much static in your mind, and you have a sense of clarity about you, and you're able to decipher and listen to that sort of inner voice. So try to set up a regular practice of meditation. I think that is incredibly important in clearing your mind and allowing you to connect with that inner voice and that higher wisdom. Another wonderful method to kind of hone in on your intuition is grounding and centering. And I do have a video on my channel, Grounding and Centering, so check that out. that's incredibly helpful as well, because the more grounded you are, the more centered you are. I discuss in that video about, earthing and being in nature. That also is a form of meditation, I feel. And I have been doing this barefoot challenge since Earth Day, and that's going so good. And just connecting with the earth will it makes all of the static, like I say, the static in the head and the body kind of go away, so that you are able to connect with your intuition just on a more clear level without questioning it. Another great way of deciphering whether or not your intuition's at play, or you're overanalyzing or overthinking what may be your intuition, is to keep a journal. And every time that you have a moment where you slip up, like I said, the one with me and the glass falling off the counter, write stuff like that down and say to yourself, oh shoot, if I had just trusted my intuition. And that way you can kind of look back over that over a period of time and realize what that felt like. Write that down in your journal, how it felt when you had this internal intuitive ping, and if you ignored it or if you followed it, and just see how things play out. Write down the emotions that you felt at the time and whether you were right or wrong. And this will be a perfect guide for you in the future. So at the end of the day, it's not really that complicated. It's just a matter of trusting your feelings and listening to yourself. Trust yourself and know that something bigger than you is helping to guide you. And if you can trust that, then I think you'll do just fine. So I think that is it for this video. I am so glad that you were here. And if you would like to be a part of my community, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I am slowly growing and I would love to have you here. So thanks for spending some time with me, and until the next time, stay magical and be blessed. Bye.